Welcome to the Win, Make, Give podcast. Chad Hyams here, Bob Stewart way over there. Bob, how you doing today?
Can I so a lot of times we have a guest today, Chad. I'll try to wrap the intro around the guest, or apologies to the awesome individual we're about to bring. I'm not going to do that. Can I just tell you something totally off the wall?
Sure. We love off the wall.
I understand why old people like Jell-O. When I was young, when I was a little kid, at every family gathering, one of my grandmas would bring Jell-O, some kind of Jell-O salad, and sometimes it'd have whipped cream in it. And I was always, as a kid, oh, cool, Jell-O, right? But for the last, call it 40 years of my life, I haven't really been a big Jell-O fan. But I'm back, Chad. Ooh. My wife has been, I got young kids, right? They're 8 and 10 or whatever. And so my wife's been making Jell-O for them because they're kind of sugar hounds, but she's trying to find some healthy, sweet things. So Jell-O.
And she went to Jell-O?
Well, but she puts the fruit in it.
Okay, yeah. My mom made me think I was eating Jell-O when it was really a bowl of fruit too.
So I'm just up. I've got a spoon next to the fridge, and I'm just opening the fridge and spooning out raspberry Jell-O in my face.
So she's not putting it in individual portion cups.
It's in the big tray in there, man, and I'm just forking it out into my face.
And is there Cool Whip in the fridge or freezer that they can put a dollop of that on top?
Oh yeah, I just hit it right into my mouth, straight to the mouth. Back it up with some Jell-O. I'm out of control, Chad. I'm
you get
I'm
talking
on the verge of being my grandpa.
You get talking on the Jell-O conversation. We know it. The Cool Whip's got to be there. You got to be ready for it. I can picture the rubber taste that I'm eating right now as
you're in the retirement community, so I'm pretty sure that comes with a bowl of Jell-O. When you guys moved in, they were like, "Here's your bowl of Jell-O."
No,
right?
It's at the gate every day when you come home. They give you your serving of Jell-O for the day. Bob, the only Jell-O I have done since I was probably 9 or 10, and Mom was making Jell-O. It's got triple sec in it, right? Folks, here's the secret.
Jell-O shots.
Not vodka. When you're making Jell-O shots, it's triple sec is the flavor you want to replace the cold water. You still need the hot water.
Okay, I can admit. Okay, so all that 40-year hiatus I took from Jell-O, there was definitely some Jell-O shots along the way to keep as a reminder. Yeah, that's right.
All right, Bob. So I'm going to segue in a way that nobody ever does.
Our guest must think we're insane. He's like, what did I get myself into?
I
can't believe this. I thought we were going to talk about some really positive, impactful stuff.
Nah.
No, we're talking
He's here
Jell-O,
for fun. Bob, what's your favorite Jell-O flavor?
Right now, it's raspberry because there's raspberry Jell-O full of raspberries up there.
Is that blue raspberry?
No, it's the red raspberry. Red raspberry.
Okay, yeah. To me, it was always green. I love the lime. There's something about it that I love the lime. So here we go. Let's bring on to the Win, Make, Give podcast, John Berryhill, and ask him right off the bat, John, what's your favorite Jell-O flavor?
Berry in it. It's got to be a berry flavor. It can't be lime.
Oh, man. Jell-O, huh? I'm going to say any flavor that is a Jell-O shot. That'll be my favorite flavor.
There you go. The man knows. The man knows, folks. Triple sec. It's the trick, John. Next time you're making Jell-O shots for the party, use triple sec. You'll thank me.
Hold on. Nobody makes Jell-O shots. They just show up at the party.
No, that was my job. I was the Jell-O
you were the Jell-O shot maker? Okay.
Yes. You probably drank them, yet I was the guy making them the day before to make them ready.
Got it.
John, welcome to the Win, Make, Give podcast. We love launching it with something. You never know where Bob's going to go. I let him have free reign at the beginning. John, we don't do bios. So even though I got a beautiful bio written all about who John Berryhill is, I'm putting you on the spot. Introduce yourself to our audience however you see fit.
Awesome. Well, Jonathan Berryhill, I'm an ex-military guy, did 7 years in the Army, got out, got into law enforcement, worked narcotics, did some crazy stuff, did a little bit of other government contracting stuff. But anyway, long story short, my marriage was in the shed.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, here we go.
Wait a minute. He did other contracting stuff for the government after narcotics.
This is now all I want to talk about, Jonathan. Right. I don't know what else you were planning to talk about, but it's going to be other government contracting stuff.
Well, there's all kinds of stuff out there. We, my marriage was on the shambles when I was in law enforcement, just because of the intensity. Leaving the military from the Army. I did some time over in Bosnia, in that area during the Bosnian War transition area to where we put them into a peacekeeping, deal back in the 90s. But so, got my life right with the Lord, and literally got my marriage back, and just knew that there was more to living paycheck to paycheck. By the way, I listened to your guys' last one talking about that. That was phenomenal. Well, that was one of the reasons why I was like, man, I cannot do this. I've got children coming up. We had 2 kids at the time. So I left law enforcement, military, and got into the business world as an entrepreneur. Took a leap of faith. Started listening to you guys. I don't know if you guys remember, but Cracker Barrel used to have. You guys know what Cracker Barrel is, I'm sure. They used to have
100%.
They used to have a cassette tape program where you pay a monthly fee and you could trade in your cassette tapes every Cracker Barrel you went to. Just trade them. It's like a little library. So I did that because I didn't have a full degree at the time, so I went back to college and walked on. But I'd go to those Cracker Barrels and get these business audio books to listen to become an entrepreneur. So at 25 years old, I walked on at the University of North Alabama to play football. I was a pretty good recruited Division I athlete out of high school, but I couldn't hardly focus and pass grades and stuff. I was labeled dyslexia and ADHD back when I was a kid. So I walked on at 25, played college football. And after the military, after law enforcement, they all called me daddy. The coaches called me daddy because I had 2 kids. But so I got my degree, pre-med biology and chemistry degree, listening to audio cassette tapes in the business world. And so I got hired on as a marketing guy and a sales guy in a healthcare organization. 2 years in, I said, I can do this better. So I took that leap of faith and started my own business. First 3 years go by, sold it for a few $1 million. And that was the start of my venture. Let alone my wife and I is my high school sweetheart. We've been married for going on 30 years. We have 6 children, beautiful children. I have 2 grandchildren. I have 2 more grandchildren on the way. We all live on our 250-acre farm here in North Alabama, just south of Nashville, Tennessee, a little bit from Huntsville, Alabama. And loving life. I'm still an entrepreneur. I still have multiple businesses, from healthcare, government contracting, to real estate, to now I'm writing a book. We raise quarter horses, and loving life, man. And just happy to be here and talk with you guys, and maybe after this do some Jello shots.
Yay, we did ours already, clearly, as you can hear.
I can tell, yeah.
So, folks, I'm going to give this, and then I'm going to give it to Bob. Bob, I always give you first question to jump in on here. But what I want to say before that is, folks, you can go to johnberryhill.com at any time when you're listening to this, of course. There's no H in John. It's John Berryhill, just like it would sound, JON.com. And you can get on the list for John's book if you're listening to this before July 1st. After July 1st, the book should be available to you. It's Warrior to Wealth. Everyone's fighting something. And we'll be pulling some bits from that today to share with you, of course. Yeah, Bob, other than the other government contracts, where do you want to go first with John on this?
In our world, John, whenever I come across, so we our kind of primary line of business is real estate. And I work a lot inside of the company with real estate agents. And whenever I see somebody joining one of our teams, we got hundreds of teams around the country, but whenever I see somebody joining one of our teams that's an ex-military guy or gal, I immediately have a disposition that they're going to be successful, or they have the skill set and some of the real foundational business, the things you need: consistency, reliability, they get the job done. There's no bullshit, no excuses. There's just a lot of things that over 20 years I've seen, man, come out of the military, it can set you up for a very good, what do you what would you say is, one of the 1 or 2 really key fundamental disciplines, or just kind of characteristics that you learned in the military that served you well as an entrepreneur?
For me, it's mission focused, also known as your why. A lot of people will say, "Hey, what's your why? Why are you doing this?" So my thing would be mission focus, and then just resilience, not giving up, not taking no, even in the bad times. You keeping your eye on the mission and your goal, whatever that is, and just continuing on even when it sucks. And so I think, because let me tell you, there's a lot of times in training when I went through infantry training and we went through, survival and any kind of training we would do, it was sucky. It was hot a lot of times. We spent hours in the woods and jungles and water. And the training was, and sometimes the combat sucked as well when we did have some combative type stuff overseas. So, those kind of things is what really that helped me out. And I'd like to think that, every guy that's been in the military or gal that's been in has that in them. They remember going through boot camp, and yes, it sucked. And there's people that quit and said, "I'm out. I'm done with this." But I think that's two of the biggest things that I got out is being able to reestablish my mission instead of drifting or wandering around, not realizing that I had a mission, and my mission was to give my wife a life that she could only imagine, and then to give my kids a different life than I had. And then my just resilience to say, you know what? Yeah, it sucked running 10 miles a day and push-ups and rolling around as what we call sand cookies. They'd pour water all over us and we'd roll in the sand pits at Fort Benning, Georgia. So, just the drive. I think those are the two main things that you're going to get out of the military, because you got to get through boot camp, and then you got to go through your schooling. And then we all know in the military, there's a mission that we have to accomplish. And my mission is, or AKA why, was my wife and my family. And now it's leaving a legacy for my grandkids.
Do you ever go back to that experience? Like in your head, when you're faced with something hard, do you ever go back and put your brain in that spot where you're in the middle of the swamp with the gun over your head and you're so tired you want to stick your face in and drown yourself? Do you ever take yourself back to that place in your brain to remind yourself what you're capable of?
So I should do it more often. And let me tell you, so back in the beginning, when I got in the healthcare world and I was going in calling on surgeons and doctors, and that was a little bit of an intimidation factor for me, because here I am, out of the military. I didn't have a degree at the time. I was just finishing up my degree because I was in my later 20s. So I had to go back and say, wait, why am I intimidated here? I mean, I've been through all this training and this is nothing. I get to walk in. Okay, if they say no, who cares? So I was trying to sell them, surgical stuff or some kind of orthopedic, device or something like that. So I started doing it a lot more about 6 months in, once I got into the, the civilian world or the, sales world. I started using that of, hey, I've been through this. This is a cakewalk. So yes, I have, and I should. And sometimes I go back and do it often now, hey, because we just started a new company here not too long ago. And, it's, as you guys know, starting up a business sometimes can take a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of money in the beginnings. And so just having to keep that mind focus and remembering, hey, I've done this before, we can get through this.
Yeah, John, thank you for your service. First of all, let's on behalf of Win, Make, Give and all of us, we appreciate the service you've put in. And folks, you don't have to have been in the military to understand what John just talked about. Mm-hmm. Right? You don't have, a mission. I get it, right? My why, I've heard that term before. Putting myself in, understanding the resilience that comes with it, knowing you need to complete this step before going to that step. Folks, you can teach yourself that without having to be in the military. It's not, I didn't go to the military, so I'm not going to be a success. Not at all. It's there for you. I want a 180, right? I let Bob always take question one and never know which way he's going to go. Sometimes we stay on that path. I heard in your introduction about your marriage, yet when I hear your mission, your wife is prominent in that mission that you stated for us. Bob and I are both blessed to be married to some amazing women in our lives that have chosen for some crazy reason to be with us. Our audience, I would probably guess half of them are in a great, powerful marriage, and the other half are either single or maybe due to work, they're not giving the commitment, this, that, the other thing. Let's talk for a few minutes about that lesson you learned as your marriage was deteriorating, and now you're grandparent to two, with two on the way, with 6 kids, and your wife, as I said, is line 1 of that mission statement. John, talk about that for a minute, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I grew up in a broken home. My dad served a lot of time in jail, even had prison time. From the time I was about 15 years old, I was pretty much living on my own or living with friends and stuff. And so, that's what I'd been raised up in, was a broken home. That bout got repeated, and I was in law enforcement at the time. Just left the military, and I was in law enforcement, and I was having affairs on my wife. I mean, it's a humbling thing. Can't even believe I was that person. But once I realized that I was wrecking the whole reason of what I had fought so hard for all these years. Number one, you think you're dating, you work hard to get that girl to like you and impress you, and then I really like this woman. And I do. I love my wife to death, and she's she's the best thing ever that's happened to me here on this earth. I thank God each and every day for her. But I was putting her through misery. She was a new mom. I was a dirtbag, and so I just had to. God woke me up one night and said, literally, I can remember just hearing this in my head that I'm about to do exactly. Except I was different. Instead of breaking laws and stuff like my dad was doing, I was actually enforcing them. And I was like, what am I doing, man? I'm wrecking my life. It just like it snapped. I could just see it in front of me, just the dominoes falling. And so I immediately put the brakes on. I immediately started, doing devotions, started reading things about being the man, who I needed to be able to provide, a protector, a provider, those kind of things. And so I picked up the phone, called my wife. She was in Hawaii with her sister, with my firstborn, my daughter. And I called her and said, hey, when you come back, please take me back. I'm going to work my tail off. And my wife, being as amazing and God loving woman she is, she said, absolutely. So she gave me that chance, and I knew I wasn't going to screw it up. And so, I got after it, and confessed to her after about 2 years of being back together that, all the, bad things I had done, and that she'll never have to worry about that again. And so, from then on, I've just been head down, mission focused, and, working to give her a great life, my kids a great life. Plus it's fun, it's fun being able to employ people and give them jobs, and seeing as you said, whether you serve in the military or collegiate sports or anything like that, anybody can instill some discipline, some healthy habits to create a very successful life, whether it's in your relationship, being intentional with your wife, or a good father, being intentional with your kids. And I think, I was drifting away. I didn't really have a mission. And so, about wrecked my life. I thank the Lord each and every day that, I corrected that. And so, I don't know if that was, kind of what you were looking for, but, that's where we are now.
I was looking for honesty, and I got it.
I'm like, as I listen to that story, I'm a little bit fascinated by the fact that you were look, I grew up in a broken home as well. And I think, I probably had a similar realization as you, but like in my head, I'd taken a different path than my father, but the reality is I was on like this parallel path. Just like you're like, he was going to jail and stuff, and I was enforcing the law, but we were both kind of doing or living the same, the same mistakes or whatever. And so that really resonated with me. And, and it wasn't until I found my wife that I like realized like, oh, wait, it hasn't been all those crazy ladies I've been dating. I'm actually the crazy one. So it's interesting to like, I don't know how sometimes we'll put ourselves like on this different path than the trauma we came from. But the reality is it's just a parallel path, and we're probably headed to the same place unless we do something different.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what's the saying? If nothing changes, nothing changes. I took that to heart. I was like, man, I'm about to screw this up. And, I apply that same thing in business world as well, starting a business or anything like that. If this failed, then I got to change this up. If my habits, if I don't have healthy habits, then we've got to change those things to improve the quality or results that we want.
Do you think you could have been a successful entrepreneur without a strong, committed partner? Like, do you think you would have been the same successful entrepreneur had you continued being a dirtbag and now you're a single dirtbag?
No.
Like, would the outcome be this similar?
I don't think so, man. I honestly, I think God putting Hannah in my life and just showing me, hey, this could be something good, and I don't think so. I think she's been my, kind of like the yin and the yang. I've told her before that, hey, if it wasn't for you, who knows where I would be and what I'd be doing, but I'm thankful that, she was put in front of me. And like I said, I still try to impress her today. When we've been married for 30 years, we dated for 2. So, but yeah, I just don't think so. I don't see it. But, I'd
John,
like to.
don't be offended by it. I think Bob was just really looking for a reason to call you a dirtbag twice in a sentence.
The dirtbag you are, John, or the dirtbag you was.
That's what I heard in there. John, let me ask one thing before we then shift on to something else. I mean, it all works together. Your book, Warrior to Wealth, you're saying everyone's fighting something, and that might be a marriage that's falling apart, and you're fighting for it, or whatever that is. You mentioned in there healthy habits, not health like how I'm a big fan of health, but healthy habits. What's the one healthy habit you would tell everyone they need to have if they wanted a successful marriage?
The first thing when you wake up, you need to be thankful for that spouse. They chose to live with you, whether that's good or bad. You should honor that. And you should be thankful that someone wants to spend their entire life with you. Then don't go to sleep at night in an argument. Don't go to sleep being upset with one another. Be adults and let's sit down and let's figure this out. And then let's go to bed happy and wake up happy and thankful. Because a heart of gratitude, it's hard to be thankful for something and also be ticked off or, irritated. If I'm sitting here going, Lord, thank you for this beautiful day. Thank you. Oh, gosh, darn it. No, usually, once you get that gratitude. So the first thing in the morning I do is I wake up and I start speaking things that I'm thankful for. A beautiful day, the rain, the house I'm in. Number one, the woman that's laying beside me, or she's already got up, the woman that's there. And then at nighttime, we try to never go to sleep. That was one of our things after we got our marriage back was we don't go to sleep upset or angry at one another. We figure that out. We don't go to sleep if we are. We get it straight. And that's just a non-negotiable. And so, those two things have worked out well in our life.
Excellent. Folks, we've heard it all before, right? John's not bringing you something, don't go to bed angry, right? You've heard that again and again and again for successful marriages. I love the start your day being thankful, not only for the gratitude of things you have in your life, but specifically for that spouse who chose to be a part of your life.
Shout out to the 15-point plan, Chad, really quick.
Amen.
That's, gratitude's obviously I love
definitely
that.
A point on the 15-point plan.
John,
right?
we've talked a lot on the Win, Make, Give podcast over the years about that idea of like, and I say this to my kids all the time, like whenever one of my sons I shouldn't say whenever one of them is, it's always many, but whenever that one is, cause I'm like, Carter, find something to be thankful for. Like, it's really, really hard to be upset and irritated with the world when you're like thankful for anything. You got a look around here. There's a lot of things for you to be thankful for, but I love that. That's such a powerful message.
Great lesson, John. Thank you for sharing it. All right, let's shift to the book. So let's give everybody kind of a sneak peek in the way we like to do it, Win, Make, Give, to Warrior to Wealth. Everyone's fighting something. You can go to johnberryhill.com to get yourself on the list for it. Or if this is after July 1st when you're listening, to find the book itself. And that's John, Jon, for johnberryhill.com. In the book, you talk about, I'm imagining these pillars or something I see that was sent over to me. Can we talk about something that's in the book like that's going to make everyone say, damn, I want to read that? John, where do you want to go with that?
Absolutely. So, I talk about first is your identity. So many people, when you ask them, hey, what is your identity? A lot of times guys and gals will look at you kind of cross-eyed and go, well, I'm this, knowing who you are and what you stand for, knowing your mission, your why, creates you from drifting, choosing a direction, so that's one of our pillars is choosing direction and stop drifting. the second thing is, build or create systems, kind of like what we said. You get up in the morning, you say thank you. Thank you for waking up, because you know what? A couple months ago, one of my best friends in the world at 45 died unexpectedly at night. One of those things. Also, we had another buddy just a few weeks ago, the ex-military guys we served with, he committed suicide. That's a number of my buddies that I've served with that have committed suicide. And I also have a nonprofit called Hunters in Christ, where we take guys out hunting and fishing and stuff that have served. So it's those things about building systems. So you don't have to rely on your willpower. If you know, hey, I've got to get up and start saying thank you. That's on my schedule to do. You're building the system. And then, there's a lot of other things we can talk about, such as, raising your standards, creating ownership, quit being a victim. You guys have heard that before. I mean, these aren't new things. These are things that I've just personally applied and picked out that has helped me in my life go from being a warrior to wealth. And I'm still consider myself a warrior now, but I started out a warrior, whether I was in high school playing football, and then went into the military, then law enforcement, then collegiate sports, and so on. And so you can be a warrior, a warrior as a stay-at-home a dad or mom, because you're there to serve your kids and be their warrior, be their protector. And so these things have really helped me. And so when you get my book, you're going to see that, I wanted to break a cycle. I didn't want to repeat, as we were talking about. Here I'm running parallel with my dad, except I was enforcing the law. He was breaking them. And I'm sure I may have probably broke a few here and there, but we won't talk too much about that.
Damn those Jello shots! They always get you.
John, the first thing you mentioned there was identity. I think that's a great place to kind of spend a few minutes as we talk about it here. As you said, if you walked up to people, like even if we put Bob on the spot, which I love doing, even if we put Bob on the spot and said, Bob, who are you? What's your identity? There's going to be a kind of moment. John, if you're sitting with someone who's saying, help me with this, what are some questions we can ask ourselves? What are some things we should be jotting down so that the next time I see Bob in person, the next time I see one of our audience members in person, I could look at him and say, hey, what's your identity? And they can ramble it off and say, I am blank. How would you help somebody come up with that?
So the first thing is, what are you looking for in life? What is your goals? What's your mission? What's your why? Why are you getting up? Is it, I hope it's not just to go and pay the bills every day. Cause let me tell you what, I lived that and that stunk, man. I wanted to enjoy life. So I would most time I ask guys and gals, what are your core beliefs? What do you believe? What do you want to accomplish with your life? When you die, what do you want people to say that's closest about you? What do you want them to say? 3 things that, Jonathan was X, Y, and Z. This is what he stood for. How others experience their relationship with you. When they get around you, are you making them a better person or are you giving them bad influence? And then, the big thing is just asking someone, what do you stand for? And then their wheels will start turning, and usually I try to say, go back to, what do you want to accomplish in life? What do you want to be a great father? Well, how do you see yourself doing that? You want to be a great grandfather? Give me 3 things that speak about who you are. And then you get people start thinking about, well, if they're Christian, they'll say, oh, I love the Lord. Okay, well, that's great. There's a good start. There's a foundation. I love my wife, so then we start creating this identity. Oh, you love your wife. Well, you need to be a great husband. So when we start molding this figure, we're like chiseling it out of rock or, whittling on some wood to figure out who this man or woman is and wants to be.
Bob, what are your thoughts on that? Did you go through? I mean, I know we've talked about it in the past with you, with your kids wanting to be, a dad to them at a high level, especially, the situations that you've been in and now getting the chance with the boys, things like that. Do you know who you are? I mean, if we put you on the spot, could you tell me your identity?
I think I would do what you said, which is I would stumble through it. I would first go to what are some of the most important things in my life? I'd probably eventually get to what do I stand for? But it's not, I think one of the hardest, as I was listening to John talk, one of the hardest questions to answer is like, what do you want out of life? Like, because look, I want to be kind. I want to help people, like these just generic type of, I think most of us in our right minds would believe or buy into those things. But that one kind of overarching is maybe the one piece that I struggle with. I think sometimes it moves on me, Chad. I'm like, I want to be retired and live an easy life. And on the flip side, I'm like, we want to help more people become homeowners. Like, I'm super passionate about home ownership. And I don't know, like, no. Like, if your question is, would you be able to answer that? I would say no, not easily.
John, when you ask people that, do you find a high percentage of them, I would guess 80% at least, the first thing that comes out of their mouth, if it's not, would be whatever job they do. And their identity becomes, well, I'm a doctor, or I'm a steel worker, or and it becomes the identity of just what I do, not who I am. Do you find a lot of people having the challenge with differentiating their job from who they actually are?
Yes. And so a lot of people fall on this is what I do, this is what I am, and that's, again, if that's what you want your identity to be, I guess that's okay. So this is one of the things we used to train. My wife and I, we were part of a direct sales company, and we made it, pretty high up to the top. And we would speak at these events and stuff, and we would teach on social media. And this is a great way to determine, a good basis of who you are as your identity. Is we'd say, name 5 things about you that are the most important things to you in your life. And then, on those 5 things, it can be things that you whatever. Like me, my first thing is my faith. I'm not a perfect human being. That's why I needed a Savior, Jesus Christ. Secondly, is my wife is the most important thing. Then I'd go to my children. And then from there, I'm going to go to horses and traveling and stuff like that. Entrepreneurship is going to be embedded in all of that. And so that's kind of how we start people of writing this stuff down, is write down things that you identify with. That's the most valuable things in your life. And a lot of times these guys and gals, like I'll put usually the 5th thing is usually entrepreneurship, because I love that. I love creating, these opportunities and stuff. You'll have these doctors, lawyers, and even military, ex-military. They won't even put their job description down. But then you asked them in the beginning who they were, and they said, "Oh, my identity. I'm a doctor. I'm a surgeon, or I'm an attorney." But then you write down 6, 7 things, and it's not even in there. It's like, well, really, you're a man of faith. You're a man who loves his wife. You're a man who loves his kids. You kind of start going down. Then you start seeing, okay. I've got to get better at these things that are my top 3. Because if these are my top 3 and I suck at them, then I've got my identity out of whack here. And so that's kind of where we go back to is, what's your most important thing? Who are you? What is your identity? Write down. If you're going to share something, you're going to share your top 5 things that you're excited about. What are they in your life?
Chad, here's something that, like, I don't know, maybe is redawning on me right now, or is dawning on me. I don't know, maybe for the first time. I would venture to say that people that reach the highest echelons of who they are capable of becoming, and like I'm thinking of Ben right now, right? But like they have a very, very, very good understanding of the question that you just asked me, Chad. Mm-hmm. Right? Like I would guess if you ever to ask Elon Musk, or you were to ask, just Ben, or you were to ask some of the people that have like really, really, really risen to the top of, they have a pretty clear understanding of who they are, right? Of what's important to them, of what, and it gets back to John's whole idea of like, what's my why? Like, why do I get up and do this? And I think the more clear, John, we are with that, the higher we can ascend in whatever we're, choosing to do in life. But man, as I think through some of the people that have really like gotten to an amazing place and led lots of people and created massive opportunities, a lot of those people are very, very crystal clear about, who they are.
Yeah. They asked LeBron James, you guys may have heard this story, and they asked him, he was stumped in his career. And then all of a sudden it just like changed overnight. And they said, what did you do? And I don't want to quote him. I'm just going to give you my explanation. It sounded like he changed his identity because he said, I created this alter ego and he called it the Black Mamba. And he said, when I stepped onto the court, I turned into the Black Mamba. And then all of a sudden his game just went up because he had to create this new identity for himself. And so where I was, 20 years ago, I knew I didn't want to stay there. So I knew I had to create this new identity. Well, the thing that I said on paper that I loved most, I wasn't serving at all. And so I had to go and, make sure I really knew what my purpose was, what I felt, what I believed deep down, what my purpose in life was. And it started with, number one, I needed to give my wife a good life because she had chose me over, all these other men. And then it just fell in line from there. But yeah, man, that's all the stuff you're saying is what a lot of us battle with, and even days when I'm in these peaks, in these valleys, I have to remember, kind of like we was talking about the military, I have to go back and remember, hey, this is my why. This is why I'm doing this. Now it's changed a little bit. Now I'm adding legacy because I want my grandsons to be able to work in our companies. We've been around for 18 years, our business has, and I don't want to just stop now. I mean, I'm 48 years old. My son's working for me. I got two of my sons that work for me. My son-in-law works for me. And so now it's legacy. Now legacy's in there, but I'm still working hard for my wife. I want to go home and her to, look at me and say, "Ooh, I love this hunk." I still want that, attraction there.
I love it. I love it.
Awesome. John, thank you. Folks, check out Warrior to Wealth. Everyone's fighting something.
Absolutely.
By John Berryhill. Again, you can go to johnberryhill.com, get yourself on the list to know when it comes out. It's supposed to come out the beginning of July. If this is after the beginning of July, you'll just find a link right on the website for the book if you're finally listening to it then. John, we really appreciate you taking the time. We don't want to hold you up any longer because we know the Jell-O shots have finally set and they are ready for you. And it's almost 5 o'clock somewhere. So punch out and enjoy a berry-flavored Jell-O shot later tonight. Thinking about us, we'll be raising a Jell-O shot to you as well, my friend.
Cheers, guys. Thank you guys so much. It's a pleasure. And man, I just enjoyed listening to like I said, your last podcast about paycheck to paycheck. That's a good one.
Folks, if that's a lesson you need, go back one episode or two or three, right, depending when it actually was by the time this one drops. Find that episode. Remember to subscribe so you don't miss any episodes here at Win, Make, Give. And until our next episode, as always, do good.